Here in the US, there's a little bit of confusion between the shared platform between the Lexus LX and the Land Cruiser. So yes, the Lexus LX is based off of the Land Cruiser, but not this Land Cruiser. Here in the US, we have a different Land Cruiser than the rest of the world. The rest of the world has a Land Cruiser known as the 300 series Land Cruiser. It's a bigger vehicle than the one we have here in the US, and it's actually the same platform as the old Land Cruiser that we used to have. So prior to 2021, we had the 300 series here in America, and overseas, they do have another Land Cruiser that is slightly smaller called the 250 series, also known as the Prado. So the Land Cruiser that we have now in America is based off of the 250 series Prado. So if you want to get yourself into a 300 series Land Cruiser, the only variation left is this right here. This is the most rugged and the most expensive new Lexus you can buy today. So I've spent the last week with the car, and here are my thoughts on it. So as always, we're gonna start this review here underneath the hood. What we have here is a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 hybrid setup, puts out a combined 457 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission. 0 to 60 takes approximately 6.4 seconds. This is rated to tow up to 8,000 pounds. Fuel economy ratings are combined 20 miles per gallon, that's 19 in the city, 22 on the highway, and the capacity of the fuel tank is 18 gallons. Oh yeah, and premium only. If there are two things that Toyota and Lexus are really good at, it's making reliable powertrains and making incredibly good body-on-frame SUVs. Sure, you can blow your money on a Range Rover or a G-Wagon, but you're never gonna wake up in the morning and say, is my Lexus gonna start today? Capable, reliable, comfortable. That is what you're getting when you buy a Lexus LX. Is it as fancy as a G-Wagon or a Range Rover? Not by any means. But sometimes, less is more. And describing this as being less than something considering the price tag is kind of crazy. Because yes, the price tag is quite steep, but you are getting a solid build for your money. This color is called Nori Green Pearl, and I think it fits really well with the theme and the intention behind the LX. And this one we have here is known as the Overtrail, which is the off-road specific variant. And sometimes with off-road trim levels, they tend to look a little bit cheaper, but you know what? That's really not the case here. If we look up here on the mirror, you can see we have gloss black mirrors, power folding with LED turn signal indicators. We do have a built-in camera down here, and you can see the base is all gloss black, no flat black up there. And we have a small section of painted gray as well. We have a smoked gunmetal finish going all the way around the window trim. I like the way it kind of flares out here in the back, but it's consistent all the way around. Gloss black on the B-pillars, and it matches the tinted glass in the back very nicely. Gloss black on the door handles as well. Glad to see that that is not flat black. I guess the one thing I found to be a little bit questionable is this fixed running board. I expect for this price point a power running board. We have low profile roof rails up top. That same gunmetal finish as the window trim, maybe just like slightly less shiny. That looks good as well. Gloss black on the wheel arches, and I like how the wheel arches aren't like ridiculously thick like some vehicles have on their off-road trim levels. Next, let's take a look at the wheel and tire setup. We have a really beefy tire. These are all-terrain tires, 265 on the width with a 70 series sidewall. These are Toyo Open Country all-terrain tires, and that is wrapped around an 18-inch wheel. It has this nice matte gray finish to it, 6 lug nuts instead of the traditional 5, and we have black painted calipers with the Lexus logo. And even though they're all-terrain tires, they do not feel overly stiff. And if you have an off-roader, of course, you got to get the mud flaps too. And now taking a look here at the front end, you can see we have this matte gray grille here on the front. That's different from the other trim levels that have a silver grille, but this can take a beating better, especially if you're going to be taking it off-roading. You can see we have a forward-facing camera right there underneath that Lexus logo. And now taking a look at the headlights, you can see we have this triple beam LED setup. We have 3 different projector beam elements in there. This has the signature Lexus Boomerang LED daytime running lights. And as you can see on this side, the bottom part of it does double as the turn signal. We have nice little details here on the side. side, you can see Lexus spelled there in the corner of the light, and then a small little running light marker there on the side as well. Dropping down here to the side of the grille, you can see we have some gloss black accents, and we do have functional openings because this is a twin turbo V6 after all. That's definitely going to need a lot of cooling. Down below here we have LED fog lights, and we also have a cornering light. That's that one set at an angle there. Basically what that does is at night, if you turn the steering wheel that way to the right, that light will come on to illuminate the area to the right, and then same thing on the other side. And underneath this little door here, underneath the headlight, that is a washer. So you press a button, a nozzle comes out, sprays washer fluid over your headlight to clean it off. That's especially good if you took it off-roading and the front of the car gets covered in mud. Back in the rear, they kept things nice and simple and clean. So just like the other newer Lexus models, we have Lexus spelled out across the back instead of the L logo. Taillights look very similar to the ones we see on the Lexus NX, the way we have this kind of split light bar that goes up on the top and then the parts here on the side. Full LED on the lighting. You can see we have a nice big turn signal that is certainly hard to miss. Got your LX 700H badge down to the right. Now this wiper, they could have figured out a way to tuck that. And the one place that you are gonna find that black cladding is on the back bumper, but just a very small portion of it. I think it's an appropriate amount considering this is really the only place you see it. And then we have a painted dark gray portion down here at the bottom. And in this middle portion right here, that's where you attach the tow hitch. You can see down here at the bottom, we have a full-size spare tire. And down here underneath the car, we have a real metal skid plate. It even says Lexus, look at that. And now to head into the cargo area, we do have a hands-free liftgate. All right, so at first glance, oh boy, not a whole lot of space. So they include this little shelf here to kind of try to give you a little bit more. But to be completely honest, this cargo area behind the third row is essentially useless. 7.2 cubic feet of storage. That is what you get back here. That is probably the smallest cargo space figure I've ever said. Like, this is a joke. Anyway, moving on. We do get a full-size 120 volt outlet with a third prong. That's good. And then we have controls to electronically drop these third row seats. So you do have to press and hold. It's not one touch. So you press and hold and they go all the way down. Certainly not the quickest task. Now the way you see it, there's 44 cubic feet of storage, which is much better. And since this is a 7-seater, you can still fit 5 people plus 44 cubic feet of storage behind that, so that is pretty good. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to drop the second row seats from the back here, so we do have to go over to the side. Over here on the side, there's a lever right here, and that puts the seat down. It can go all the way forward, but if you want to just leave it flat. So the way this sits like this, plus where that shelf is in the back, it's kind of like one even plane that goes across, so very good for storing stuff. It can lay flat. And once you have all the seats folded down, you now have 62.4 cubic feet of storage. So now we are inside the 2025 Lexus LX 700h Overtrail, but here's the thing. The interior, it's nice, but is it $118,000 nice? I think we're gonna have to dig a little deeper to figure that out. I actually want to start here in the center because, as you can see, there's a lot going on. So we have 2 displays, the main infotainment display up top. It is a touchscreen. It's not the massive 14-inch screen like we see in some other Lexus models, but I think it's a bit more practical. But then we have this second screen down below, and it serves a few different functions. So first, it works for climate controls. You can see we have fan speed, we have zone, you can sync the driver and passenger together, you can operate the rear AC as well. But even with there being controls on the screen, there's still a ton of physical buttons here underneath. So this switch toggles your temperature, then you have your defrosters, and then there's a really cool function here called Climate Concierge, and when you hit that, basically you can set a preset for whether or not you want your heated steering wheel or heated seats to turn on, the ventilated seats, a specific temperature, specific zone, specific fan speed. So when it's super hot in the summertime like it is right now, you can program it to have the AC fully cold, full blast, ventilated seats, all of that with just one push of a button. And then in the winter time, you could do the opposite with the heated steering wheel, the heated seats. So that I have not come across before. I'm actually a big fan of that, but I'm not really a fan of the way that the controls are kind of split up. It's a little bit confusing. All right, moving on from AC, we have some vehicle information. Up here, it shows you your percentages for the brake pedal and the accelerator pedal. Here, it shows you the status of the four-wheel drive system, whether it's in low gear or high gear. Your drive mode is right there. We have a G meter here off to the side. And then we have this diagram that demonstrates the suspension height because you can raise and lower it. I will show that in just a little bit. And here on the main infotainment display, this has Toyota's and Lexus's kind of streamlined infotainment system. And the way to access everything is right here on the left side. There's no like home screen to go to. So all your icons of things that you would need to access are right here on the left side. And then when you go into CarPlay, you can either have it be full screen for CarPlay, or you can still bring back that menu on the left if you want to have it there. This has a cloud-based navigation system and an available Wi-Fi hotspot. This also has a camera system. The button is here on the left side. You press that, it brings up this 3D model, but it doesn't show that much of your surroundings, just this little bit that can fit in this oval that kind of goes around the car. And then there's this more zoomed in 360 mode. Now when you throw it in reverse, you can see we have the 360 camera here off to the left. We have a backup camera here off to the right. We have distance markers and trajectory lines. I will say the resolution is not the clearest. Dropping down here, we have the drive mode selector. So what this does depends on what light you see illuminated here. So we have it on drive mode. So we go through the dial here. You can see we have all these different drive modes that come up here in the gauge cluster. We have custom, sport plus, sport, normal, comfort, and eco. Then if we come back here and hit this one, this is multi-terrain select. I like these cool animations you get here on the gauge cluster, but then we have some terrain that you can choose from. We have auto, which is kind of your default setting, dirt, sand, mud, and deep snow. So this will be capable in pretty much any scenario you can think of. And then over here we have crawl mode, which is basically like a cruise control for off-roading. And it also works in a way where like if you're stuck when you're off-roading, it can kind of autonomously work to get its way out. So that's very useful to have. And then here is your low gear, high gear for the four-wheel drive system. Dropping down, you can see two USB-C ports there on the right. We have a 12-volt outlet over here, wireless charger up here. For the controls, we have the heated and ventilated seats, and there is an automatic mode that's for driver and passenger. Here's the electronic shifter, just like a lot of the other Lexus models. We have two cup holders. They have some illumination, but they are on the small side. And then over here, we have our parking brake, our brake hold. We have our center locking differential. There's also a front and rear locking differential, so 3. Very highly customizable. We have traction control, and then here are the buttons to raise and lower the suspension. So I'm gonna demonstrate that now. There are various different heights that you can set the suspension to. And one thing to note, in order for it to work, parking brake has to be on and your door has to be closed. And this is in real time. I'm not speeding anything up. This level we're in now is called H2. So this right here is the highest height. If I go down one, you can see how quickly it just goes down. Now we're in H1. If I go down again, now we're in N. If I go down again, now we're in L, which I guess is for low. Still going. Okay, so that's 4 different heights you can have the suspension at. Other amenities we have here in the Overtrail are this digital rear view mirror. We also have this really soft headliner. It's not suede, but it's a fabric that I don't really know how to describe. I haven't really felt anything like it before, but it does feel very high-end, very soft. It continues over here on the visor. Almost feels like felt. We also get soft closing doors, so if I close the door but not all the way, it pulls the door the rest of the way in. That's very useful, like if you have kids and the door is a bit too heavy for them to close. But even myself, you know, occasionally I'll close the door, won't be all the way. Now you don't have to go back and open the door again and re-shut it. And if we look here on the center console and on the door panel, we have this really gorgeous looking open pore wood. You can feel the wood grain when you run your fingers over it. And I love how they kept it with a matte finish. I really hate wood that looks shiny. And this color stain also matches well with the black interior. And material quality on the dashboard, it's soft touch plastic at the top, a little bit of stitching in there. And then we have a really soft leatherette here at the bottom, and it also continues onto the door of the glove box. This feels really nice and high-end. Over on the door panel, the same soft touch plastic at the top. And then here on this side panel, on the armrest and this grab handle, we have leather. Quite a bit of piano black right here, so that shows a bit of dust and fingerprints, so you'll have to keep that clean. Automatic up-down for all 4 windows. Got your locks and your mirror switches there. At this price point, I am a bit disappointed to see that the entire bottom is hard plastic. There's not too many cheap materials in here, but that's certainly one of them there. We do have a really cool looking speaker grill for that Mark Levinson audio system. Down here we have an aluminum door sill with the Lexus logo, and that does illuminate nicely at night. Next, let's talk about the seats. These are wrapped in semi-aniline leather, and they are extremely comfortable. As you can see, we have a power extendable thigh support. The headrest has this nice stitching on it. This is incredibly soft, just like a pillow. Really nice. You can see the whole middle portion of the seat is perforated. Like I said before, they're heated and ventilated, and they're also massaging. Now, there is one catch with the massaging. It's kind of hard to get to. So there's no button for it on the actual seat. You have to go into the screen, and it's not exactly easy to find. So if you go here to the vehicle, hit seat controls, then massage, pick the seat, pick the intensity, power it on. You got to choose your your zone. There's centripetal, centrifugal, upper body, lower body, and lumbar. I like to put it on lumbar. I can use the support in my lower back and of course up that intensity all the way. And while it is a slight pain to get to in the screen, the massager actually works very well. I've tried a bunch of different vehicles that have massaging seats, and this is probably one of the better systems. Next, let's talk about the steering wheel. So this has Lexus's modern steering wheel design. You see it on a bunch of the other models. Now, I prefer this one over a lot of the other ones because it doesn't have the touch controls that work with the head-up display. The other models that have that, it doesn't exactly work well all the time, but these controls, they're just straight and to the point and they work. We have a nice horn button with some simulated stitching. I like the dark matte finish on the Lexus logo. Off to the left side, we have the controls for the gauge display up above. We have volume, phone, back button, and voice command. On the right side, we have the controls for the adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, and we have mode. And this right here is your fast forward and rewind for the audio. We also get real metal on the paddle shifters on the back of the wheel to work that 10-speed automatic. The steering wheel is heated, and it's also power tilting and telescoping. And here just above the wheel, we have a very highly customizable digital gauge display with 3 different zones. And just so I don't bore you, I'm just gonna quickly go through this menu here to show you all the different things that it can show. You can see it's a lot, so that's just there on the left side. You can have the actual map show up there right in the middle. You can have it blank, driving support, your 2 different maps, and then all of this vehicle information here on the right side. Like anything you can possibly think of, it's here. And then up above that, we have a head-up display. It can show your speedometer, cruise control information, and it has traffic sign recognition. And the windshield also has a de-icer that can help melt snow and ice. And I don't just mean the defroster, I mean there's actual heating coils in the windshield that can help melt it much faster. So comfort in this LX is fantastic, especially when you look here on the side. You can see the whole side of the center console has leather on it, and it's nice and soft, so you have a soft place to rest your knee while you're driving. And the only real cheap materials in this interior are either at the bottom or just out of reach. So everything you touch in here feels nice and high-end. Now inside the center console, it opens from the side. In fact, it opens from both sides, so driver or passenger can get in there. This one has a cool box, so as you can see there, basically, oh, hello. Okay, good to know that it works. So this is a cool box. You can keep drinks or cold food items in there, and that'll help keep them from going bad or getting warm. But as far as using it for storage, it's not that big. I mean, it does go pretty deep, but I'd say it's the size of like an average sedan center console. And then over here in the glove box, as you can see, this documentation here pretty much takes up like the whole thing. There's only this tiny bit of space here off to the side, so not a ton of room in there. And it's also not lined with felt either. I realize that's nitpicking, but I mean, it costs 118 grand, just saying. Also for 118 grand, we only have a standard size moonroof, no panoramic. We do have LED ambient lighting here in this interior. There's a few strips of it going throughout, so you can see we have one here on the door. It's on all 4 doors. It's also down in the footwells, and then we have one right here, and then we have some illumination in the cup holder as well. Okay, so now I'm in the back seat right behind where I'd have the driver's seat. That's a really tall headrest. Right behind where the driver's seat is adjusted for myself at 6 feet tall. And now here's the thing. I think I set my driver's seat further forward than most people. I kind of like to be closer to the steering wheel. So even with that, I have very minimal legroom to spare, maybe about 2 inches. And if it weren't for this cutout here in the seat, I'd probably be touching pretty much. And also these second row seats, they are fixed in place, so you can't slide them forward or back. Over here on the door, we have manual sunshades, like to see that. Another ambient lighting strip there, but in the daylight, doesn't really shine too bright. We still have the same wood trim and the leather on the side panel, on the armrest. We do have a cup holder down there in the door. We have aluminum door sills, but not illuminated, and you don't have that Lexus logo on there. And now looking at the back of the center console, there's another button here for rear passengers to get in. We got these 2 really wide air vents, which is really good because you have that and you also have more air vents on the side, so plenty of AC in the back seat. And we have this really wide display here, so we have heated and ventilated outer seats here in the second row, and then we have the command center here for the AC. You can control the fan speed, the temperature, dual zone in the rear, so both passengers can have different temperatures. And then hiding down here behind this little trap door, we have 2 USB-C ports. And now to get back into the third row, we have to pull the lever here, and then it goes all the way forward like that. Okay, so like this, stepping in is fairly easy. All right, so now I'm back in the third row. And as you can see where my knee is here, I'm not touching, so I do have enough room. But as you can see, the seat is here and my feet are maybe 6 inches lower. So it's a really low seat, so my knees are like very high up into my chest. It is quite tight back here. And weirdly enough, we have a switch here to recline the seats, power reclining, but it only goes maybe 4-5 inches either way, so doesn't make that big a difference. You do get air vents in the rear, that's good to see. And on both sides, 2 cup holders and a USB-C port. And there's also these buttons here to electronically drop these third row seats. So you can fold down the third row seats pretty easy, and you can do it from the second row without having to go back into the cargo area. So as you can see, this LX is configured with 7 seats. You can configure it with 6 if you want to get captain's chairs here in the second row. But to me, this just makes a lot more sense. If you're gonna get a vehicle this big, you should maximize the amount of people you can carry in it. All right, so now we are behind the wheel of the LX 700h Overtrail. I have the drive mode in Sport Plus, and we're gonna do a little acceleration test. 0 to 60 is rated at 6.4 seconds. So I'm gonna come to a complete stop up here. Not gonna brake torque it, we're just gonna go and we're gonna see what happens. Now, before I get into the acceleration, I do want to talk a minute about the hybrid system. It is very easy to forget that this is a hybrid system because like 90% of the time, it only goes into EV mode when you're sitting at a light like this. I very rarely notice it in EV mode while actually in motion. So in a way, it kind of just feels like a normal internal combustion engine that has an automatic start-stop for the engine. And considering that this hybrid model only gets about 1 mpg better than the non-hybrid system, I think that's kind of a testament to just how effective it really is. And Toyota's hybrid systems, the switch off between EV and gas mode is always very seamless, and there's no difference here, but it does mainly just stay in gas mode. But back to the acceleration. Since this engine does have a turbo, you get the typical turbo lag that you would come to expect. But then the 583 pound-feet of torque that this has to offer kicks in pretty low in the RPM range. As far as ride quality, this does have an adaptive variable suspension, and I did show earlier the different heights it can be set to. We have a double wishbone setup in the front and a multi-link in the rear, and the ride feels very similar to Toyota's other big body on frame SUVs like the Lexus GX and the Toyota Land Cruiser. It's very floaty, it's a little bit bouncy, it can absorb shock like it's nothing, extremely comfortable, extremely solid build quality, very quiet interior minus the engine noise. We do have a twin turbo V6 and it does produce a bit of noise. We're riding on all-terrain tires, and while they don't feel overly stiff, they do produce a bit of noise similar to the engine. We have a 70 series sidewall on the tires, so that does provide quite a bit of cushion. I haven't had the opportunity to drive any other trim levels of the Lexus LX, so I can't really make a comparison. Hopefully one day I will get to drive one of the more luxury-oriented trim levels, but even with this one being the off-roader, it is extremely comfortable. And speaking of the off-roading, yes, it is very capable. We have a 2-speed 4-wheel drive system, so high 4 and low 4, and all 3 differentials can be manually controlled, the front, the center, and the rear. And with that adjustable suspension height, you can get up to 10 inches of ground clearance. And the camera view, as you can see here when you have it in multi-terrain select, shows your sides at the bottom, plus you're forward facing. That way when you're off-roading, you can see everything around you and not damage the vehicle. And now finally, the steering and the handling. Well, it handles exactly how you would expect. It's very top heavy and there's lots of body roll. This is not something you want to go crazy in. That really soft suspension does make for a bit of swaying from side to side, but that side to side flexibility is what allows you to be able to articulate out on that really uneven terrain when you're out off-roading. So when you get a vehicle like this, it kind of comes with the territory. Overall visibility is pretty good, and being this high up gives you a very good view of the road in front of you. And also, when you're in something this big, people tend to move out of your way. And one last thing on the hybrid system, as you can see with the fuel economy, I'm sitting at like exactly 3/4 of a tank and I only have 170 miles of range. This Overtrail has an 18-gallon fuel tank, which is smaller than the non-hybrid variant. And since this barely even has better fuel economy than the non-hybrid variant, the range on this is actually worse. And the Lexus LX of the past, it always had a V8. Now they've opted for a twin-turbo V6 hybrid. So is this really a better option? I'm not so sure. But I do think it's a very competent powertrain, and I think it'll certainly stand the test of time, but is it worth the money? I've laid it all out for you now, so let me know in the comments. MSRP of this 2025 Lexus LX 700h Overtrail with its options is $118,010. So that is going to wrap up this review of the 2025 LX 700h Overtrail. If you enjoyed this video, please share with a friend and subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow. A huge thank you to Lexus for sending this out for me to keep for a week so that I can give you guys the most thorough review possible. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos, and be sure to follow @Optical Automotive on TikTok and Instagram, and check out the page on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.